When Tyler Morrison deliberately knocked Lila Washington's lunch tray to the floor that Tuesday afternoon, he thought he was putting another black girl in her place. He didn't know the quiet 17-year-old newcomer at Jefferson High held a secret that would destroy his future. As spaghetti sauce splattered her white sneakers and laughter echoed through the cafeteria, Lila knelt calmly, cleaning the mess with napkins from her pocket. A student whispered, "She's way too calm for someone being humiliated." Tyler smirked, adjusting his Letterman jacket as phones recorded his cruelty. Lila stood slowly, pulled out her phone to send a quick text, and whispered, "You have no idea who you just messed with." He laughed, walking away with his friends, unaware his privileged world was about to crumble. What secret does Lila hold, and how will Tyler pay for his arrogance? Over the next week, Tyler makes Lila's life a living hell. It starts small, accidentally bumping into her in the hallways, making loud comments about diversity quotas when she walks past. But Tyler has never been one for subtlety, and his campaign against Lila quickly escalates. He creates a group chat called New Girl Problems, and fills it with memes mocking Lila's appearance, her clothes, the way she talks. Screenshots of these conversations spread through the school's social media networks like wildfire. Students who don't even know Lila's name start recognizing her as the target of Jefferson High's most popular student. During English class, Tyler orchestrates whispered conversations loud enough for Lila to hear. "I heard her dad's probably in prison," he says, making sure his voice carries to her desk 2 rows ahead. "That's why she had to transfer here. Probably can't afford a better school." His girlfriend Stephanie giggles on cue. "I feel bad for whoever has to room with her. I bet she doesn't even know how to use a shower properly." Mr. Peterson, the English teacher, either doesn't hear the comments or chooses to ignore them. When Lila raises her hand to answer a question about the assigned reading, he calls on Tyler instead, even though Tyler clearly hasn't done the homework. After class, Tyler blocks Lila's path to the door. "Did you actually read the whole book, or did you just look at the pictures?" he asks, loud enough for the other students to hear. "I know reading can be challenging for some people." Lila adjusts her backpack strap and meets his gaze. "The book was fine. Simple vocabulary, basic themes. I finished it the first night." "Sure you did." Tyler sneers. "Probably had someone read it to you." But Lila has already walked past him, leaving Tyler talking to empty air. During lunch, Tyler escalates his harassment. He convinces a group of freshmen to stage a flash mob in front of Lila's locker, playing loud rap music and mimicking exaggerated dance moves while filming her reaction. Lila continues organizing her books as if nothing is happening, but Tyler isn't satisfied with her non-response. "Come on, new girl," he shouts over the music. "Show us some of those moves you people are famous for." The crowd grows larger, other students pulling out their phones to record. Lila closes her locker and turns to face Tyler directly. "Is this really how you want to spend your time?" she asks, her voice cutting through the noise. Tyler steps closer, his face flushed with excitement and cruelty. "What's wrong? Too good to dance for us? Or maybe you're just scared." Lila takes out her phone and makes another call, speaking too quietly for Tyler to hear over the music. When she hangs up, she looks at Tyler with something that might be pity. "Some battles require strategy, not emotion," she says, walking away as the flash mob continues behind her. That evening, Tyler posts a compilation video of the day's harassment on his social media accounts. The video goes viral within hours, shared and reshared by students throughout the district. The comments section fills with increasingly cruel remarks about Lila's appearance, her family, her worthiness to attend their school. But Lila spends her evening differently. She sits at her desk with a leather-bound notebook, carefully documenting each incident. She screenshots every social media post, saves every video, records the names of every participant and bystander. Her movements are methodical, purposeful. Her roommate Sarah watches from across their shared space. "Lila, you need to report this. It's getting out of hand." Lila doesn't look up from her work. "Reports get filed away and forgotten. Evidence builds cases." Sarah frowns. "You talk like you know what you're doing." "I do." Lila closes the notebook and places it in her desk drawer, next to several others just like it. Tyler Morrison is about to learn that actions have consequences. The next morning, Tyler arrives at school to find Lila already at her locker. He's emboldened by the positive response to his video, the way other students have started greeting him with congratulations and high fives. "Sleep well last night?" he asks, approaching with his usual crowd of followers. "Hope all that internet fame didn't go to your head." Lila continues organizing her books. "I slept fine, thank you." "Good, because today's going to be even better than yesterday." Tyler grins at his audience. "I've got some new ideas for content." Lila finally turns to face him. "I'm sure you do, but Tyler, can I ask you something?" He's surprised by her direct approach, but nods anyway. "Do you really think this is the smartest way to spend your senior year?" Tyler laughs, a harsh sound that echoes down the hallway. "Smarter than being a diversity charity case." Lila nods slowly, as if confirming something to herself. She closes her locker and picks up her backpack. "We'll see about that," she says, walking toward her first class. Tyler calls after her. "What's that supposed to mean?" But Lila doesn't turn around. The harassment reaches its peak on Friday morning. Tyler has spent the entire week building toward this moment, each day's cruelty more elaborate than the last. He's recruited more students to his cause, turning Lila's isolation into a school-wide spectacle. It starts during first period when Lila discovers that someone has broken into her locker. Her textbooks are scattered across the floor, pages torn and crumpled. Someone has written slurs across her notebook covers in permanent marker. The lock has been cut clean through. Lila surveys the damage with characteristic calm. She begins collecting her ruined materials, sorting what can be salvaged from what cannot. Other students gather to watch, their phones already recording her humiliation. "Looks like someone sent you a message," Tyler says, appearing at her shoulder. He's not even trying to hide his involvement anymore. "Hope you can read it." Lila straightens up, a damaged textbook in her hands. "I can read just fine, Tyler. The question is whether you've thought through what you're really saying." "I'm saying exactly what I mean to say," Tyler responds, emboldened by the growing crowd of spectators. During second period chemistry class, Lila finds that her lab partner has requested a transfer. Professor Martinez announces the change casually, as if it's routine, but Lila notices how the other students avoid making eye contact with her. She completes the entire lab assignment alone, while her classmates work in pairs. Tyler, seated at the lab station directly behind hers, provides a running commentary for his lab partner's entertainment. "I wonder if she knows what all those big words mean," he says, not bothering to lower his voice. "Maybe we should offer to help her with the difficult parts." When Lila measures out a chemical solution with perfect precision, Tyler adds, "Beginner's luck. Let's see how long it lasts." Lila continues her work without acknowledging his presence, but her movements become more deliberate, more controlled. She completes her assignment 15 minutes before anyone else and submits it to Professor Martinez without a word. Lunchtime brings Tyler's most elaborate scheme yet. He's convinced the cafeteria staff to accidentally run out of food just as Lila reaches the front of the line. She's forced to watch as other students, including those who arrived after her, receive full meals while she's told there's nothing left. "Sorry, honey," the lunch lady says with obvious insincerity. "Maybe try bringing your own food from now on?" Lila nods politely and turns away from the serving line. But instead of leaving the cafeteria, she takes a seat at an empty table and pulls out her phone. She makes a series of calls, each conversation brief and businesslike. Tyler, watching from across the room, decides this is his moment. He stands on his chair, raising his voice to address the entire cafeteria. "Hey everyone, let's give our new student a proper Jefferson High welcome." The room erupts in applause and laughter. Tyler jumps down from his chair and approaches Lila's table, his phone out and streaming live to his social media accounts. "So Lila, how are you enjoying your first week at our school?" he asks, his voice dripping with false friendliness. Lila looks up from her phone. "It's been educational." "Educational how?" Tyler presses, sensing an opportunity to humiliate her further. "I've learned a lot about the culture here, the values, the priorities." Lila's voice remains steady, but there's something new in her eyes. "It's exactly what I expected to find." Tyler frowns, confused by her response. "What's that supposed to mean?" Lila stands up slowly, gathering her things. "It means that some institutions reveal their true nature when they think no one important is watching." "No one important?" Tyler laughs. "You think you're important?" Lila pauses at the cafeteria entrance. "I think this conversation is being recorded from multiple angles and will be reviewed by people who definitely are." The warning in her voice is subtle but unmistakable. Tyler feels a flutter of unease, but he's too committed to his performance to back down now. "The only thing being recorded is you making empty threats," he calls after her. Lila doesn't respond, but as she walks away, several students notice her making another phone call. The afternoon brings the incident that changes everything. During gym class, Tyler orchestrates his cruelest prank yet. While Lila is changing in the locker room, he and his friends steal her regular clothes and replace them with items from the lost and found. A stained sweatshirt 3 sizes too large, and torn sweatpants that clearly haven't been washed in weeks. Lila emerges from the locker room to find Tyler and his friends waiting with their cameras ready. The sight of her swimming in oversized, dirty clothes sends them into fits of laughter. "New look suits you," Tyler says, broadcasting live to his followers. "Very authentic." Lila looks down at the clothes, then back at Tyler. For the first time all week, her composure cracks slightly. Not with anger or embarrassment, but with something that looks almost like disappointment. "You stole my clothes," she says simply. "Prove it," Tyler challenges. "Besides, these look better on you, more appropriate for someone of your background." The racial undertone is unmistakable now. Several students in the gym stop laughing, suddenly uncomfortable with the direction Tyler's harassment has taken. But Tyler, drunk on his own power and the validation of his online audience, doesn't notice the shift in mood. Lila walks to the center of the gymnasium, Tyler following with his camera. She stops directly under the basketball hoop and turns to face him. "Tyler Morrison," she says, her voice carrying clearly across the large space. "You have systematically harassed me for 5 days. You've damaged my property, stolen my belongings, organized group harassment, and now you're broadcasting racial slurs to social media." "So what?" Tyler replies, still filming. "What are you going to do about it?" Lila takes out her phone and dials a number. The call connects immediately. "Dad?" she says, her voice clear enough for Tyler's microphone to pick up. "It's time." Tyler lowers his phone slightly. "What's that supposed to mean?" Lila ends her call and looks directly into Tyler's camera. "It means you just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic life." Tyler tries to laugh, but the sound comes out forced and uncertain. "What are you going to do? Call your daddy?" Lila's smile is cold and sharp as a blade. "Something like that." The gymnasium has gone completely silent. Even Tyler's most loyal followers sense that something has shifted, that the game they've been playing just became something else entirely. Lila retrieves her stolen clothes from Tyler's bag and walks back toward the locker room. At the door, she pauses and looks back at Tyler, who is still standing under the basketball hoop with his phone in his hand. "You should probably call your parents," she says. You're going to need them. Saturday morning arrives with the sound of engines. Lila stands at her dorm room window, watching as a convoy of black SUVs pulls into Jefferson High's visitor parking lot. Even from the third floor, she can see the government license plates, the way the vehicles move with coordinated precision. Sarah joins her at the window, still in her pajamas. Lila, what's going on down there? Justice, Lila replies simply. By 8 a.m., the school parking lot has transformed into a media circus. Newsvan from 3 different stations crowd the entrance, while reporters set up their equipment on the front lawn. Students begin arriving for Saturday morning activities, only to find their school surrounded by federal agents and journalists. Tyler pulls into the student parking lot in his lifted truck, music blasting, completely unaware of what's waiting for him. He's still riding high from yesterday's viral video, which has been shared over 50,000 times across various platforms. His phone has been buzzing all morning with notifications and friend requests. He climbs out of his truck, adjusting his baseball cap, and immediately notices the unusual activity. His first instinct is excitement. Maybe there's been some kind of celebrity sighting, or perhaps the school is being featured in a documentary. Yo, what's all this about? He asks a cluster of underclassmen who are standing by the fence, staring at the media setup. Don't know, one of them replies, but they're all asking about some judge's daughter. Tyler frowns. Judge's daughter? What judge? Before anyone can answer, Mr. Williams, the AP history teacher, approaches the group. His face is pale, and his hands are visibly shaking. Tyler, he says urgently, you need to call your parents, right now! Why, what's going on? Tyler's confidence is starting to waver. Mr. Williams looks around nervously, as if he's afraid of being overheard. That girl you've been harassing all week. Lila Washington. What about her? Do you know who her father is? Tyler shrugs. Some guy, I don't know. Why does it matter? Mr. Williams closes his eyes briefly, as if gathering strength for what he has to say next. Her father is Federal Judge Marcus Washington, United States District Court for the Eastern District. The words hit Tyler like a physical blow. His face drains of color as the implications begin to sink in. You mean, Tyler's voice comes out as a whisper, I mean you've spent the entire week creating a documented pattern of racially motivated harassment against the daughter of one of the most powerful federal judges in the state. Mr. Williams' voice is tight with barely controlled panic. A judge who has built his entire career prosecuting hate crimes and civil rights violations. Tyler feels his knees go weak. Around him, the other students are backing away, as if his stupidity might be contagious. But she's just a student. Tyler stammers. She never said. Why would she need to? Mr. Williams snaps. Did you think her father's position was supposed to protect her from experiencing what every other black student faces, or did you think it would protect you from the consequences of your actions? Tyler's phone buzzes with an incoming call. The display shows his mother's number, but when he answers, it's his father's voice that comes through the speaker. Tyler, get home, now! Dad, I can explain. There's nothing to explain. Channel 7 just ran a segment about federal investigators looking into civil rights violations at Jefferson High. They showed your video, Tyler. They showed everything. The line goes dead. Tyler stares at his phone, trying to process what he's just heard. Around the school, the story is spreading like wildfire. Students who participated in Tyler's harassment campaign are frantically deleting social media posts and trying to distance themselves from the situation. Teachers who ignored Lila's treatment are suddenly remembering urgent paperwork that needs their attention. Principal Thompson emerges from the school building flanked by 2 federal agents. His usually confident demeanor has been replaced by obvious panic. He spots Tyler in the parking lot, and his expression hardens. Mr. Morrison! He calls out, his voice carrying across the asphalt. I need to see you in my office. Immediately. Tyler's legs feel like jelly as he walks toward the school entrance. The federal agents watch his approach with professional interest, their expressions unreadable behind dark sunglasses. Inside the building, the atmosphere is electric with tension. Teachers whisper in doorways while administrators hurry past with boxes of files and documents. Tyler has never seen the school's adult authority figures look so frightened. In the principal's office, Tyler finds himself facing not just Principal Thompson, but also two FBI agents, a representative from the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, and a woman who introduces herself as an attorney from the federal prosecutor's office. Mr. Morrison, the lead FBI agent begins, consulting a thick folder of documents. We'd like to discuss your activities this week regarding Lila Washington. Tyler looks around the room desperately, hoping to find some friendly face, some adult who might help him navigate this nightmare. But Principal Thompson won't meet his eyes, and the federal officials regard him with the cold professionalism of people who have seen his type before. I want to call my parents, Tyler says, his voice cracking slightly. That's your right, the FBI agent agrees. But first, let's talk about this. He slides Tyler's phone across the desk, open to the viral video from yesterday's gym class incident. Tyler's own voice fills the room, clear and unmistakable. More appropriate for someone of your background. Can you explain what you meant by that statement? The agent asks. Tyler stares at the phone screen, watching himself destroy his own future in high definition. In the video, his face is flushed with excitement and cruelty. He looks like exactly what he is, a privileged teenager drunk on his own power, completely convinced that his actions will never have consequences. I didn't mean... Tyler starts, then stops. How do you explain away something so clearly documented? The Department of Education representative leans forward. Mr. Morrison, we have evidence of a sustained campaign of racially motivated harassment spanning 5 days. We have documentation of property destruction, theft, group intimidation tactics, and the creation and distribution of hate speech via social media platforms. She opens her own folder, revealing printed screenshots of every post, every comment, every shared video from Tyler's harassment campaign. We also have testimony from over 30 witnesses, including several who participated in your activities and are now cooperating with our investigation. Tyler's mouth goes dry. Witnesses? Students who filmed your actions, teachers who observed your behavior, school staff who participated in the discriminatory treatment of Miss Washington? The woman's voice is professionally neutral, but Tyler can hear the contempt underneath. Your harassment campaign was remarkably well documented, Mr. Morrison, almost as if you wanted to create evidence against yourself. Through the office window, Tyler can see news crews setting up for what looks like a press conference. A podium has been arranged on the school's front steps, and he recognizes several prominent local politicians gathering nearby. What's going to happen to me? Tyler asks, his voice barely above a whisper. The federal prosecutor's attorney answers with clinical precision. That depends on several factors. The extent of your cooperation with our investigation, the degree of remorse you demonstrate, whether you're willing to testify against other participants. Tyler feels the room spinning around him. Testify? Against who? Principal Thompson, for starters. Several teachers. The cafeteria staff who participated in denying Miss Washington food service. Anyone else who contributed to creating a hostile educational environment based on racial discrimination. Tyler realizes with growing horror that he's not just facing punishment, he's being recruited as an informant against the very authority figures he's always assumed would protect him. Outside, a familiar figure approaches the podium. Judge Marcus Washington is an imposing man in his 50s, his presence commanding even from a distance. When he begins to speak, his voice carries the weight of 3 decades on the federal bench. "My daughter asked me not to interfere," he says, his words picked up by multiple microphones. "She wanted to handle this situation herself, to document what she experienced as a black student in this educational environment." Tyler watches through the window as reporters lean forward, hanging on every word. "What she documented," Judge Washington continues, "was a systemic pattern of racial discrimination that extends far beyond the actions of any individual student. This investigation will examine every aspect of how Jefferson High School failed in its duty to provide equal educational opportunities." The judge's eyes seem to find Tyler through the office window. "But make no mistake," he adds, his voice growing harder. "Individual actions will face individual consequences. My daughter deserves justice and she will receive it." The collapse begins immediately. Tyler's phone, buzzing constantly with notifications, now carries only bad news. His college recruiters start calling, not to offer scholarships, but to withdraw them. The University of Alabama is first, followed quickly by Auburn, then Mississippi State. Each conversation follows the same script. The school cannot be associated with his documented pattern of racial harassment. Tyler sits in his truck in the school parking lot, watching through the windshield as his entire future disintegrates. His parents have hired an attorney, but even she sounds pessimistic about his prospects. "The video evidence is overwhelming," she tells him during their first meeting. "Your own social media posts provide a clear pattern of escalating harassment. The racial component elevates this from simple bullying to potential federal hate crime charges." Tyler's mother cries silently in the corner of the law office while his father paces behind the chairs, his face red with anger and embarrassment. "What about his future?" his father demands. "He's just a kid who made some mistakes." The attorney's expression doesn't change. "Mr. Morrison, your son created and distributed content that has been viewed over 200,000 times. He organized systematic harassment of a federal judge's daughter while using explicit racial language. This isn't a mistake. It's a documented hate crime." By Monday morning, Tyler's expulsion from Jefferson High is official. Principal Thompson, desperate to save his own career, has thrown Tyler completely under the bus. The expulsion letter, leaked to local media, describes Tyler's actions as fundamentally incompatible with our school's values of diversity and inclusion. Tyler reads the letter with bitter irony. Jefferson High's values of diversity and inclusion were nowhere to be found when he was harassing Lila with impunity. Now, faced with federal investigation, the school has suddenly discovered principles it never bothered to enforce. The FBI's investigation moves with ruthless efficiency. Tyler's phone and laptop are seized under federal warrant, providing investigators with a complete digital record of his harassment campaign. His text messages reveal the planning behind his actions, the coordination with other students, the deliberate escalation of racial targeting. Even worse are the reactions from his former friends. Students who cheered his harassment of Lila now claim they were just following his lead, just trying to fit in with the popular crowd. Stephanie, his girlfriend of 2 years, releases a statement through her parents' attorney describing herself as another victim of Tyler's manipulation and hate. Tyler finds himself completely alone, abandoned by everyone who once sought his approval. The federal charges come down on a Wednesday. Tyler Morrison, age 18, is indicted on multiple counts of civil rights violations, cyber harassment, and conspiracy to deny equal educational opportunities. The charges carry potential prison time and mandatory registration as a hate crime offender. Judge Washington, recusing himself from the case due to conflict of interest, issues a brief statement through his office. The federal judicial system will handle this matter with appropriate gravity. My daughter's courage in documenting these violations has provided prosecutors with the evidence needed to pursue justice. Tyler's arraignment is a media circus. Protesters line the courthouse steps while reporters shout questions as his attorney hurries him through the crowd. Inside, Tyler faces Judge Maria Santos, a stern woman who has built her career prosecuting hate crimes. "Mr. Morrison," Judge Santos says, reviewing the charges, "the evidence against you is extensive and damaging. Video documentation of your actions, digital records of your planning, testimony from multiple witnesses. How do you plead?" Tyler's attorney enters a plea of not guilty, but even she knows it's a formality. The evidence is overwhelming, documented in Tyler's own words and images. The real devastation comes in the civil lawsuit. Judge Washington, acting as a private citizen rather than a federal official, files a comprehensive civil rights violation suit against Tyler, his parents, Jefferson High School, and the school district. The financial damages sought are staggering. Millions of dollars in punitive damages designed to send a clear message about the cost of racial harassment. Tyler's parents, facing the loss of their house, their business, and their retirement savings, finally understand the full scope of what their son has unleashed. The insurance company refuses to cover the lawsuit, classifying Tyler's actions as intentional criminal behavior rather than covered negligence. "You've destroyed our family," Tyler's father tells him during one of their last conversations before Tyler is sent to juvenile detention pending trial. 25 years building our business, and you've thrown it all away for what? To pick on some girl you didn't even know?" Tyler has no answer. In the quiet of his detention cell, away from the cameras and the crowds, he finally begins to understand what he's done. Not just to Lila, not just to his own future, but to every black student who watched his harassment campaign and learned that they could be targeted with impunity. The plea bargain, when it comes, feels like mercy and condemnation rolled into one. Tyler will serve 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. He'll be required to complete 500 hours of community service at civil rights organizations, undergo mandatory counseling for racial bias, and register as a hate crime offender. Most devastating of all, he's required to make a public apology to Lila Washington, broadcast live and distributed to the same social media platforms where he spread his harassment. Tyler stands before a federal courthouse podium, his hands shaking as he reads from a prepared statement. Lila sits in the front row, flanked by her parents, watching with the same calm expression she maintained throughout his harassment campaign. "I systematically targeted Lila Washington because of her race," Tyler reads, his voice barely audible. "I organized other students to participate in racial harassment. I used social media to spread hate speech and create a hostile educational environment." He looks up from the paper and meets Lila's eyes for the first time since this nightmare began. "I was wrong. I was cruel. I was racist." The words taste like ashes in his mouth. Lila Washington deserved to attend school in safety and dignity, and I took that away from her because I thought my privilege would protect me from consequences. Lila's expression doesn't change, but she nods once, a gesture of acknowledgement, not forgiveness. "I'm sorry," Tyler concludes, though the words feel inadequate for the magnitude of what he's done. After the press conference, as Tyler is led away to begin his prison sentence, he passes close enough to Lila to speak to her directly for the first time since the harassment began. "I really am sorry," he whispers. Lila looks at him with something that might be pity. "Sorry isn't enough, Tyler, but it's a start." 6 months after Tyler's sentencing, Jefferson High School looks like a completely different institution. Principal Thompson and 3 other administrators have been fired, and face their own federal charges for creating and maintaining a discriminatory educational environment. The school board has implemented comprehensive reforms, including mandatory bias training for all staff and a zero-tolerance policy for racial harassment. Lila Washington stands at the podium in the school's renovated auditorium, addressing an assembly of students, teachers, and community members. The girl who once ate lunch alone now commands the attention of hundreds, her voice carrying clearly through the sound system. Change doesn't happen because someone in authority decides to be generous, she tells the audience. Change happens because people demand it, document it, and fight for it systematically. Behind her on the stage sits a diverse panel of civil rights attorneys, federal investigators, and education reform advocates. The Lila Washington Foundation, established with the settlement money from the civil rights lawsuit, has already begun working with students in 12 other school districts facing similar harassment. Judge Washington, watching from the audience, feels a mixture of pride and sadness. His daughter shouldn't have needed to endure weeks of racial harassment to create this change. But her courage in documenting and confronting that harassment has already helped dozens of other students. We've established reporting systems that protect students from retaliation. Lila continues. We've created legal resources for families who can't afford to fight discrimination on their own. We've trained investigators who specialize in educational civil rights violations. In the audience, Sarah raises her hand. Lila, what would you say to students who are facing harassment but feel powerless to stop it? Lila's smile is warm but fierce. Document everything. Build your case methodically. Find your allies. And remember that your voice matters, even when, especially when, people try to silence it. The Foundation's work extends beyond individual cases. Lila has testified before congressional committees about systemic racism in education, consulted with the Department of Education on policy reforms, and spoken at civil rights conferences across the country. Tyler Morrison, now 8 months into his federal prison sentence, watches Lila's congressional testimony on the prison common room television. The girl he once tormented now sits before United States senators, her testimony helping shape national policy on educational discrimination. His cellmate, an older man serving time for tax evasion, shakes his head as Lila describes the harassment campaign in clinical detail. That's the girl you messed with? He asks Tyler. Son, you picked a fight with the wrong family. Tyler nods silently. In prison, stripped of his privilege and popularity, he's begun to understand what Lila meant when she said some battles require strategy rather than emotion. She never fought back in the moment because she was building something larger, a case that would not only bring him to justice but create systemic change. The letters Lila receives from other students facing harassment pour into the Foundation's offices daily. A Latino student in Texas whose teacher makes immigration jokes. A Muslim girl in Ohio whose classmates call her a terrorist. A Native American boy in Montana whose school mascot mocks his heritage. Each case follows the same pattern Lila established: careful documentation, strategic legal action, and public accountability for institutions that fail to protect their students. The goal isn't revenge, Lila tells a new group of student advocates during a training session. The goal is justice. Revenge is personal and temporary. Justice is systemic and lasting. The Foundation's legal team, headed by some of the country's top civil rights attorneys, has already won settlements in 8 school districts. More importantly, they've established legal precedents that make it easier for future victims to seek justice. Lila's high school graduation speech, delivered as class valedictorian at her new school, draws national media attention. Standing before her classmates and their families, she reflects on the journey that brought her to this moment. A year ago, I walked into Jefferson High School hoping for nothing more than a normal senior year, she begins. Instead, I found myself documenting systematic racial discrimination and fighting for the right to exist safely in an educational environment. She pauses, looking out at the audience that includes several students who have benefited from the Foundation's work. What I learned is that there's no such thing as a normal senior year for students who look like me, who worship differently, who come from different cultures. Normal for us means being constantly aware that our presence is seen as a problem to be managed rather than a contribution to be valued. Judge Washington wipes tears from his eyes as his daughter continues. But I also learned that we have more power than we realize. When we document injustice, when we demand accountability, when we refuse to accept discrimination as the price of education, we can change entire systems. Lila's final words echo across the graduation ceremony. Class of 2025, we are not just graduating. We are inheriting a world that needs fixing, and we have the tools to fix it. The Foundation continues to grow, its influence spreading beyond education into broader civil rights advocacy. Lila's documentation methods are now taught in law schools as a model for gathering evidence in discrimination cases. Her strategic approach to confronting institutional racism has inspired similar organizations across the country. Tyler Morrison, meanwhile, continues serving his sentence. His mandatory counseling sessions have helped him begin to understand the full impact of his actions, not just on Lila, but on every student who watched his harassment campaign and learned that racial targeting was acceptable. In his required letter of accountability, read aloud during his parole hearing, Tyler reflects on the magnitude of his mistakes. I thought my popularity gave me the right to target someone I saw as different. I thought my privilege would protect me from consequences. I was wrong on both counts, and my actions caused harm that extends far beyond one person or one school. The parole board denies his early release request, noting that while Tyler shows genuine remorse, the systematic nature of his harassment campaign requires him to serve his full sentence as a deterrent to others. Lila, now in her freshman year at Harvard Law School, continues her advocacy work while pursuing her degree. Her professors, impressed by her real-world experience with civil rights litigation, often use her case as a teaching example in constitutional law classes. Lila Washington's story proves that justice isn't just a dream. It's a choice we make every single day. Every time you witness bullying, discrimination, or injustice, you have the power to be Lila Washington. You have the power to document, to demand accountability, to refuse to accept hatred as normal. But here's what Tyler Morrison learned too late. In our connected world, everything is documented. Every cruel comment, every discriminatory action, every moment when you choose to be a bystander rather than an advocate, it's all preserved forever. And someday, someone like Lila Washington might be watching. The question isn't whether you'll face a choice between standing up for justice or staying silent. The question is what you'll do when that moment comes. Will you be the person who creates change, or will you be the person who becomes evidence in someone else's case for justice? Don't wait for someone else to stand up. Don't assume that your actions won't have consequences. Don't believe that your privilege will protect you from accountability. Lila Washington's story teaches us that true power comes not from position or popularity, but from courage, strategy, and an unwavering commitment to what's right. Be the person who turns the tables. Be the one who makes bullies face justice. Be Lila Washington. The choice is yours. What's your Lila moment going to be?